Hello again. Welcome to another episode of Northern Spotlights with me, Terry McStay. It's really good to see you again. So you might have noticed we're not in our usual studio in Sunderland. We're actually in the Catalyst building on the Helix site in Newcastle. And one of the reasons for that is that my guest today is no other than the Director of Engagement for the Helix site, Charlie Charlton.
Sounds very posh.
Doesn't it?
And very grand. Yeah, so I'm Charlie Charlton. That is indeed one of my jobs, part-time, Director of Engagement for Newcastle Helix, which is the innovation district of the North East. But on top of that, do you want all my other bits?
Please do, yes.
My other bits are, number one, mother of two. That is the extra full-time job that anybody will know about. And I am a Northeast advocate. That means I champion the Northeast, and I do this in various ways on film, on podcasts, at live events and all the rest of it. But my trade is journalist. That is what I am, really.
At your heart.
At my heart, yes.
Because you're probably one of the most energetic, passionate people I know. And you just exude energy, so I think you're the perfect person to engage others for this place.
That's very kind.
Well, it's very true.
I'm glad that you've used energy in a good way.
Oh, absolutely.
Because obviously when it's overflowing and you've got no control on it,
it's not such a good thing.
It's not such a good thing. And that happens regularly in our house.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Right.
Kitchen discos, fine. You know, there's a way of monitoring the situation with a kitchen disco, but generally, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't want to go too crazy. No. So yeah, so a lot of people, I guess, will know you from your journalism
from
days.
The broadcasting, yeah. And I think, and that's where I feel awkward in these situations, because the reason I got into broadcast journalism was because I liked people and I was always very interested in people and I was very interested in the world.
Right.
So I got into it to tell other people's stories.
Really?
So not this, which is talking about yourself, where I feel highly awkward. Right. It's good in one way because you then get a sense of what you're expecting of other people in an interview.
Yeah.
But yeah, the broadcasting.
So at what point did kind of journalism or that kind of, at what point did that become the thing that you fancied doing?
Well, I went at school, loved school, but didn't know what I wanted to do afterwards.
Right.
The school I was at encouraged me to do university.
Right.
So I went to university and I went to London. I really wanted to go to London.
The bright lights.
Very excited by the bright lights of London, and left at the same time as a bunch of my friends. So we all went together, like a crowd of us, which I don't really remember planning as such, but we were all there together. These are still my best mates now. And I studied philosophy.
Okay.
And the reason for that was a friend's mum who was a teacher. Bearing in mind my parents had to, stop school at like 14. So I didn't know anybody who worked in like higher education really, but this was a friend's mum, and she'd said, oh, I've always thought there was a very interesting thing about philosophy, Charlie, and that people say that you never think the same again. And on that one thing,
that was enough.
I then thought, that's what I want to do. Totally didn't look into it, went there, met great people, had the best time ever in London. And, but academically,
I was going to say,
far beyond
because philosophy degrees are renowned for not being terribly onerous. Or is that just a myth?
Oh, you cheeky devil.
It's only what I've heard.
It was pure philosophy. And it was at UCL where they are, it's all about Benthamite philosophy, utilitarianism and all of this stuff. Okay. And there were like really incredible philosophers there, like Ted Hondrick who looks into the philosophy of time and things. I just didn't get it. They said when I went to collect my, results, they said, oh, just so you know, you are the most popular person we've ever had in this department.
But that's about it.
But that's it. Off you go. But when I was there, I did a little bit of student radio and telly, just a little dabble, and I really enjoyed it.
Right.
And then worked, of course, in sales to earn some money in London straight away, because that's what I'd done. And it wasn't until I then worked abroad, lived in Australia, did other things, that I started to think, what on earth am I going to do when I get back? And that is where the internet in its early days became
Became a
my
useful.
changing moment.
Really?
Because I actually typed into Google, which I'm sure I probably called Goggle at the time,
Yeah.
and I typed in, what is it called when you, what is it called when you do news on the radio?
Okay, right,
I didn't know what that was.
right.
Broadcast journalism.
Okay.
Okay, broadcast journalism, where do you study? And then it came up with the best places to do it.
Who
and
needs ChatGPT when you've got...
just awful, isn't it? But I didn't know anybody. I'd never met.
Yeah,
I didn't know a journalist.
yeah,
I didn't have any of that influence in my life,
Yeah.
apart from my dad reading the papers all the time. I didn't. I didn't know what it was called.
it's a word, yeah. So why was the news bit
I was
important for you?
just fascinated by the world
Right,
and fascinated by what was happening.
right,
I knew that I didn't want to go into war reporting, so I knew it was more kind of current affairs and institutions I was interested in and how things functioned, and then people's stories.
Right.
So it was that. What it definitely wasn't, and this is when I came unstuck years later. I never wanted to be famous.
right.
I didn't
You
want
didn't want to be the story.
No.
Yeah.
Which is why I struggle with these moments. And that was fine at that stage. When I got into that, there was no social media. So all of that element it wasn't an issue for me because I didn't have to face it.
Yeah.
And I knew that I preferred to do radio than TV.
Right.
Because for the same reason. Well, my dad said I had a face for radio.
Dads are good like that, aren't they?
So so I knew that I wanted to do that. So I studied that as a postgrad.
So you very much wanted to be kind of anonymous, or
I wanted
not.
to do the broadcasting, but I didn't want to be a name or a face. Does that make sense? Yeah. I mean, there are loads of people broadcasting now that you might respect as journalists who aren't necessarily household names.
Yeah.
That would be the category I wanted to go into.
Right.
And I like that, so kind of semi-anonymity, I suppose.
Right.
Yeah. And I did my postgrad, and for the first time in years, something clicked.
Really?
Yeah, like clicked in a way that I could never have predicted.
Right.
I just felt I want to know more.
This is it.
There isn't anything else I want to do right now. I worked so hard, which really showed how unhard I had worked at university.
So where was this? Where were you doing these things?
I did that at the London College of Printing, as it was then, which I think is the University of Arts London now, and met some fantastic people who've gone on to do incredible things. You know, phenomenal journalists and broadcasters, and we had a great spirit. There was we were all learning together. And I still remember the first time they said, okay, so here's a bit of audio and we want you to chop this down. This mortifies me, actually. We want you to chop this down from 40 minutes to 20 minutes.
Right.
And what did I think you did? I thought you cut out all of the breaths. So I sat there for ages with this computer going, and then realising I cut out, a minute and a half? And then it was only after, I was like, editing. Taking out the bits that aren't relevant.
Some of the words as well.
Oh man, that was literally the starting point. I had nothing to compare it to. And so it was proper passion, but in terms of skills, absolute basics. And having to work through it.
Yeah.
And then I was offered some kind of work placements, which happened to be in the northeast of England, which was great because then I could,
So you were looking to move back?
Not necessarily.
Right, but it was.
Not necessarily at that point. And then I started doing some work experience, and then the work experience became an offer of some freelance work.
Right.
And then the freelance work became so constant that then I was here. So when I initially came back, I hadn't really said bye to my friends, like they were like my family and still are. And it was just, I'm going back for a bit.
Right.
and then I'm going to come back and see where we're at with things. And then I just bedded in and was so happy. And then I had the realization, as everybody does in broadcasting, that some of the greatest audio and visual content you'll get will come from the northeast of England. Because in terms of conversations, there's nobody like the northeast. That literally, you know, in terms of why do people come and do their vox pops here? You know, you go on the street and because you get characters, because you get warmth, because you get friendliness, because you get openness, because you get interest. For me, a big thing was holding institutions or organisations or individuals to account on behalf of the public. I mean, being a journalist in that world is one of the most, I think, one of the most privileged positions you could ever be in. People trust you with their most personal and difficult stories. You know, they're sharing with you the worst times of their life as well as the best times of their life. Their vulnerabilities, you know, I'm going to lose my home and I'm terrified about this. How do you help me? And then you speak to these institutions who they wouldn't get a chance to, or prime ministers or cabinet ministers or regulators, you name it. And you get a chance to put their point forward, hopefully in a clear, articulate way, and to hammer them to get an answer. So then everybody benefits. I mean, that is what a position to be in. And for that, I felt very, very lucky, and I never, ever took that for granted. And I still won't. Because every day I see people who deserve to have their voices heard by people of influence, whatever that field is, and they just don't get those chances. So it's really important. And then I get on my soapbox about local democracy and the value of the press. But I really do think it's great. And then on top of that, you just have such a laugh. Because there is nothing like a newsroom. I mean, the newsroom I knew was just off like Drop the Dead Donkey off the telly. You know, I didn't know, like, not the 9 o'clock news. I didn't know what that was really like. And then you go in and suddenly you're like, this is crazy. The people in the newsroom, they're all characters. Everybody. And you rely on each other so much. If you've got a live programme, this is whether it's regional or national, you've got a live programme, you've got a deadline. And you can't miss it. You know, the news is at the same time every hour, every half hour, and the programme runs minute to minute, and you've got to fill it with stuff. With something. So you need your reporters, you need your editors, you need your production staff, you need your broadcast assistants, you now have your social media teams, you have, I mean, it just goes on and on and on, and you all work together so closely. I still always preferred radio. Apologies to all of my telly lot. Because it was just so raw, you know.
And there's one less thing to worry about as well, I suppose, isn't there?
The camera. And also people, when you do, there are so many surveys which show how an audience responds to people when they see them visually. And, you know, I remember once doing a story. I'd worked so hard on this story. I mean, like this world exclusive it turned out to be. This really difficult story with this wonderful woman, blah de blah. Did it for the radio, local, national, did all of that stuff. People responded to me about the story. Did one thing on the telly. And the first two emails that came in, like, are you pregnant? Like, oh my, what? Did you hear what I was talking about? Did you hear the really important story? You can't help it because people are looking at you visually. What are you wearing? What are you... And I'm just not, I suppose I'm not confident like that. So I prefer not to do it. So that was why. But the telly people, when you work with them, you're so reliant on people behind cameras and everything. And, you know, your AVs, all of that stuff. And they were so kind and so patient. Can we do take 12? Yeah, Charlie. We can do take 12.
Yeah, I have an inkling of how that feels.
and it's hard for them. They must be thinking, oh Lord, we've got to get on here. But I think So I liked it for different reasons,
Yeah.
but radio has my heart and always will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is where would this have been? Is that quite an early stage in your career?
Yeah.
Fresh-faced and eager and.
Aren't you kind?
That is true.
I know I think they've got the lighting quite nicely on that shot.
It is a good shot.
That is after about 6 years of broadcasting. So I'd gone in as
6 pints.
after that's how, definitely don't look like that after 6 pints. But thank you. I'd been a reporter, I'd been a newsreader, I'd been the travel presenter, where we created this gimmick called Charlie's Angels and had all these hauliers used to ring in with their info. So we had all of that, and then I was doing presenting, and you needed these photo cards. I was like, "What do you need them for?" And they're like, "Oh, people want your autograph. People want your autograph." Crazy. So you had these photo cards. So that was before I started working with Alfie, I think. And then because I did other shows, and then Alfie, Joey, and I, who didn't know each other.
Really?
Didn't know each other.
How could you two not know each other?
We just came from different worlds.
Yeah.
He just appeared in broadcasting, having done his 1001 squiggly career moments of just
which we've heard.
Pure joy, and it was fantastic. And our boss at the time basically matchmaked us.
Right.
And we did one of those Myers-Briggs tests to see how we'd come together.
Right.
And once we found out we both had a love of Columbo,
that was it.
That was it. Columbo and Frank Sinatra, we were done. And we just clicked.
Yeah.
And, we'll do till the day we die. We just get on really well. He's a fantastic interviewer. And he still wouldn't put that forward about himself, I think, because of the kind of the journalism word. And I feel like the word journalism can be really intimidating. Even when I was a member of the NUJ, I still thought, it was like, am I allowed to be?
Because it can mean lots of things, can't it? Or people can have their own view of what that actually means. And it can be, I don't know, somebody knocking on someone's door trying to get a salacious story out of them, or someone like yourself who's hearing from truck drivers about conditions on the roads, and, which is quite different things, aren't they?
Thanks. It's true, though. And different types of journalism.
Yeah.
The writing abilities are so different in those fields. And people underestimate that. I'm not a press journalist. My written word isn't that great, I don't think. I'm not going to be writing any novels anytime soon. But I can write for broadcast.
Right.
Different skill.
Yeah.
The social teams can write specifically for different platforms now. And it is very much a skill. The language you use, the rhythm of the words, so many things brought into that. And then, of course, what the type of journalism is. I did do an awful lot of what you've called death knocks. That was your earliest, that's what you were thrown into, terrible things happen and you'd go and see, if there was something that could be learned from it. Some really difficult stories you cover as well. You work in news, you were dealing with horror, frankly.
Yeah.
And then you've got the hours, they're horrific. It must be one of the only jobs where the pinnacle of the career is the worst shift. Getting up at 3:30 in the morning. 3:30, 4:30 in the morning. If you get the breakfast show, ooh, God, you made it. You think that is just brutal.
Yeah.
But again, you live by the seat of your pants and it's all quite hilariously brilliant. And it's my husband works at the NHS. And his point is, this is making sure that nobody dies. And ours was reporting on it when it went wrong.
Yeah.
So you have these two colliding worlds. Yeah. But it was great. I miss the newsroom.
Okay.
I miss the
chaos
energy,
and everyone just...
The chaos.
Yeah. But chaos
Terry,
going in the right direction.
So, not always, no. Especially not live. You hear it all the time on the radio. Well, now we're going to talk to Sir Keir Starmer. No, we're not. Now we're going to, fill for 3 minutes.
Well, that's the only time I think you get a sense of that chaos is when things don't quite go right, or these kind of blooper things. Because usually it all looks very smooth, but then occasionally you just get a glimpse behind the scenes and realise that it isn't like that at all.
Not at all. And I think sometimes when you'd have people would come into the studio who'd never been in a studio and see all of the very basic operations in terms of the regional stuff and see all of the screens, you know. So the whole time you're wearing headphones and you've got somebody talking at you the whole time. You've got your screen with your scripts on. You've got another screen where you've just got scrolling messages the whole time because it became, radio's changed so much. It's been about the audience's response. You're like completely trawling for like audience response and reaction, you know, beyond the phone-ins. You know, the whole content and structure of it has changed. You know, whether that's for the best is to be debated. And then the same for TV. When I was reading TV news, the whole time you've got somebody in your ear and you're peddling. You've got your foot down here. You're peddling the auto script. Right. So you've got that, and have I gone fast enough on that? I'm talking there, and I've got my script, and then somebody's talking here, and which camera are we on? I mean, all of that.
And you've got to make it look effortless.
I mean, you've got to pretend none of that's happening. Somehow all of this is in your head, you know? But it was, absolutely loved it. Loved it. But all good things have to come to an end.
So how did things then change?
Various things happened. One was becoming a mum, and I would say that was the
because that
biggest,
changes everything, really.
Completely the biggest change. You know, and I wasn't a young mum. With my first child, I was classed as geriatric.
That's such a terrible
Isn't it?
term.
Why don't they change that? It's so cruel, and it's written everywhere. You know. And then the second time round, they're like, "Oh, you know, because of your age, we're going to have to scan you every minute of the day." You know, there's like you in this like. So I became a mum, and we were so lucky and so delighted about that I was prepared for life to change. To adjust. For a very long time, our whole marriage, my husband's a really, really special man. We've cared upwards as well, proper sandwich generation, and so there was a lot at us. So I started to think, are there other things that I should and could be doing? And one thing that I had been criticised for repeatedly through my career, apart from using the word basically too much, you always need a basically-ectomy, you do. One thing was that I was not a social worker.
Okay.
That was raised pretty much at every single annual assessment.
Really?
Yeah. You're a journalist, not a social worker.
Right.
And that is really a red flag, because that is, I was wanting to do the fixing. I was wanting to do a bit more.
Rather than just listening to those stories to actually make a difference.
Exactly. And then you don't know how. And what do you want to? How do you do that? What do you want to do? So the role changed a bit. I couldn't.
Because is there an expectation that as a journalist you've just got to look at these things, talk about them, and then move on to something else? Yeah, and not get involved.
Well, you've seen the one show. My word. Got an erupting volcano, and now we're going to talk about 3 kittens who've just been born to, you know, two different cats. I mean, literally.
And the two things are somehow equal in value.
I know. Utterly insane, isn't it? It's the kind of like the pattern and the churn. The churn is so fast. So you do revisit stories. You do build up relationships. I built up very strong relationships with a number of people that I've worked on stories with. One was a father of a man who died in the MH17 crash, one of the Newcastle United players. Dad sadly no longer with us as well. And I went with Barry over to The Hague when they did a European investigation into that crash. You know, one of the first times you were hearing about Ukraine, actually, at that time. So there's been, you know, you have that, and it would be mad if you weren't affected by the people they speak to. And I also mean that in a good way.
Yeah.
You know, because the first question anybody always wants to ask you, particularly all the students or the, you know, the school kids I go and work with now, like, who's the most famous person you've interviewed? And it's the people I think are famous, they just don't even know, you know. And I just end up saying very truthfully, they're not really the best stories.
Yeah.
The best stories are always from so-called ordinary people who don't realise how extraordinary they are.
Yeah.
You know, who'd flippantly say, oh yeah, we've had cancer 6 times, and then I rescued 40 dogs from you know, over in Tel Aviv, and then and you're just kind of thinking, what?
Yeah.
Oh, and you've got 5 kids too. Oh, right, okay. They're the stories, and those people stay with you.
Yeah.
I've got like a kind of mental Rolodex of those people, which is great. So yeah, so I'd changed. I was doing less national radio because I had a little one. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't travel to Manchester, and for me, I didn't want to. I didn't want to. I didn't want to be away. And we had, you know, you've got demands on you as a family and stuff. So things were changing there. And then shift forward a couple of years, and then COVID hit.
Right.
And I, COVID was a very, very tricky time for our family, as it was for so many, and for so many reasons. But one lovely thing that came out of COVID for us was our second child, and that was unexpected. It was great, and at that point, that was when I thought, right,
that was the clincher.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so things were changing within the BBC, and I had an opportunity to step out, but I didn't know what to do. And I was tapped up by somebody who said, if you ever leave the BBC, your name keeps coming up. Do you want to come and have a little chat? And I was thinking, ooh,
what could
maybe
it be?
this is it. But I didn't know what it would be.
Right.
And then what it emerged as was this job at Newcastle Helix.
Right.
Which
must have just opened at that time.
Ooh,
or
no,
was it
so
about to?
the first building was the core, so that's been open 10 years now.
It's not, has it really? Wow.
No.
So we're in 2025.
If you think it was
and
Sir
I
Bobby
can't
Robson,
believe that was
who,
2015. Crikey.
So Sir Bobby Robson pressed the plunger
Right.
on what was this place, which was the Scottish and Newcastle breweries, and boom, and then there was just vast change. At that stage, it was Science City, you know, and it was part of that political movement to create a couple of science cities across the country, and then it became Newcastle Helix,
which is where we are now. So on that note, should we stop for a cup of tea?
Yes.
And then you can tell us all about your, what was it? Director of Engagement role.
Just make up a title.
Is that what you did?
Yes. Yeah. I've probably spelt it right.
Right, well, let's get the kettle on and we'll come back shortly.
Great.
So just before we stopped for a break, we'd got to the stage where you'd left the BBC and you were offered, I guess, this position of being in, what was it again? Although it wasn't then at the time, was it? So the Helix at the time it was one building, but there was a plan for many more?
No, there were a number of buildings and they'd opened during COVID. Right. So what you have here is an innovation district, okay? And there are a number of innovation districts set up across the UK who are all members of, guess what? The UK Innovation Districts Group, and which is a great organisation that kind of celebrates what makes these places different. Okay. And a major part of that are these, the reasons it's called Helix. So you've got these component parts. You've got the public sector, you've got the private sector, academia, and the public. Right. So knowledge sharing, a place to come together where you can benefit different skills and have an impact.
So they're not exclusive with a wall around them. It's very much about being open and
that is what the vision was. The vision, and they're 25% more productive than average sites, city centre sites that are nearby. So there's all of this stuff that says how much good they do and how great they can be for the regional economies. But my thing is almost sort of challenging that with what can be done about the soft infrastructure.
Okay.
You build buildings like this, and I mean, this is every day here, you'll see people of all different ages with cameras and camera phones, because it's an Instagram haven.
Oh, it's a fantastic
and a photographer's
building.
dream. Architecturally, it is beautiful.
Yeah.
And when the light comes out and it catches maybe the district energy centre's chimney, or it catches the light on the Catalyst building. I mean, it looks and feels fabulous. Yeah. That is not a patch on the best bit of this site, and it's the people in the buildings. Yeah. And when you chat to those people and hear about the things they're doing, it's mind-blowing. I mean, I am not a scientist. I'm a creative, if anything. But the things they work in, the fields they are literally global leaders in. And because they're based here in the Northeast, there's this massive swell of the willingness to collaborate, to share ideas, to not pull the ladder up, to celebrate even people who could be effectively competitors for the greater good. I've loved that, getting to know those people. And that was the key, because during COVID, there was a whole challenge about, can you remember were you even going to go back into work? I mean, it feels alien to say it now, but were we ever going to be there? Yeah. Were we ever going to share spaces together?
We just didn't know, did we?
We didn't know. Had hybrid working even gone? Was it entirely remote now? There was so much. So it was getting people back on site and getting them to meet each other between these buildings as the site developed. It's only at the moment still 50% developed out.
Really?
So, full buildings, but, there's a hotel on its way. They're residential, that's what I'm very excited about, with affordable housing on the back plot of the land. There's so much more to come, but the fact that it's, we're literally within view of St James's Park, the greatest football ground in the world.
Other football teams are available, obviously, but...
season ticket holder, I'll fight you to the death on this one.
I'm not going to get into that.
I think, there was so much opportunity here, but the challenge is embedding a place like this into the local community. Because the nearest postcode here of where people are living, NE4, and NE4 has some of the greatest economic challenges with fluctuating population and so on. So my big thing, and this is really why I changed the roles I want to do, is how do we get those people to know that this is a place for them?
Because you could say, this is a crazy place to build something like that, but actually, it's where you should be having things like this, isn't it?
Regeneration.
Yeah.
And regeneration, I mean, it takes so long, and I'm impatient with that. I always expect, you can do this now, and you can get this happening, and then you talk to people and they're like, oh no, this is like decades and decades of work. That's what proper, real inclusive innovation and regenerate. All these long words. It's like when people talk about networking, and I'm like, it's making grown-up friends. Let's not dress it up. It's just, that's what it is. So that's when I started to see what are the things that could be done here. So one part of my role is to, talk about Newcastle Helix to UK businesses, to UK organisations, get it on that platform, tell those stories, but also regionally. That was one of the hardest things to realise when I left my old job. I had thought for a really long time, I was frustrated with a lot of politicians in particular and the narrative that they had of the Northeast. Wasn't just politicians, but it was journalists. It was a lot of people nationally and globally, and what they thought we were in 2020, whatever it was then. Having probably never been here, and just thinking that we've got this proud industrial heritage, and that's where we kind of stopped. And the heartlands and really great parts of our story that need to be celebrated, but not knowing what we also do now, and the different sectors and the talent we've got here. The saddest thing was when I came out of broadcasting, realising that was what we also believed about ourselves.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of truth in that,
That a place of limited opportunity. And the facts didn't stack up. And so it was a case of, right, come on, everybody, this is not what this is about. The narrative of the Northeast now is very different. So let's tell the true stories. Let's shine a light on the real stuff that's happening here. So many other parts of the country inevitably get a lot of traction and they get a lot of coverage. The so-called Golden Triangle near to London, you've got London, Oxford and Cambridge. We have, world-leading research being done in our universities here. And it doesn't get the same level of coverage. Yeah. And I think partly that is the fault of externals, but it's also, we've got to take responsibility
we've got a part to play,
ourselves.
haven't we? Yeah.
Definitely.
It's interesting, I was at Durham, at the Gala Theatre in Durham a few weeks ago, and there was Fiona Hill, who's who I'm hoping will be on a future episode.
Phenomenal.
But she was talking to a couple of people, I can't remember the names, but one of them was saying that very same thing, that we've got a historic story that we tell, but we've got a future story that we need to tell, and that's probably more important. And we can tell the story that we want, and to some degree bring it to being.
Take control of our own narrative.
Yeah.
I think Fiona Hill's a great example. Coming from Durham coalfields, and I mean her book is phenomenal. And then going off and working alongside U.S. presidents, multiple, and giving being in a whole different world. But the point is that I would love somebody with that energy and ambition and talent to not feel they had to leave to have it satisfied.
Yeah.
It's a great thing when I talk to people in, say, professional services on site, some lawyers who are working on the big legal contracts from here.
Yeah.
You don't need to leave to get hold of those things. Or we're working, with some scientists at the moment who are developing new sets of cures for various cancers. They're doing it here.
Yeah.
And they're doing it here because there's great opportunity in terms of the costs, the setup costs for large organisations, and they'll save an awful lot. But we need to really capitalise on that and know that you can get the talent here. So know that, right, we've got these people with these skills, they don't need to move away, and actually we can entice other people to move here because of the quality of life.
Absolutely.
That life-work balance here is beyond other parts of the country.
Because that's the thing that, when you talked about how there's this image of the Northeast, but what is never talked about is the fantastic quality of life and the coastline and being close to Northumbria and North Yorkshire and all those amazing things that are never kind of shouted about. Although to some degree, I think we shouldn't shout about them too much.
Well, this is what everybody used to say. We talk about, when we celebrated that in like local stories, about like, oh, don't say it too much because I don't want, the reason Embleton's so nice is because it's so empty. I don't want people there. Or like, South Shields Beach is so clean because there aren't too many people. There's, of course there's that. And there's also a sense of like, people worry about diluting the character of like, our Northeast community is as strong and as welcoming as they are because we've managed to hold on to that. And actually, if you go and get all of these like, high flyers from central London up, they're going to come and they'll get... I don't think that's true. I think that there are facets of our personality which are so ingrained in us that if we are proud to hold them, they can't be trained into people. They can't be. There's no kind of like set of sessions that can teach the next generation of how to be canny and be interested and welcoming. And if somebody comes in, invite them into that. You can't do that. It's in you. Yeah. You see it by modelling. Yeah. And I think if we continue to have that and keep our characters and the great crack, that's what I don't like, is people seeing that as a shortcoming or seeing it as an underestimation. Yeah. Yeah. For the Northeast, that really, really gets my goat. That's when people think, it's, being friendly is just such a soft skill, it's a weak skill. No, it's so key that other places, other regions would kill for it. Yeah.
So in some ways, what you're doing now is very much what you've always done, is telling amazing stories. Now, I resisted the temptation to ask you who was the most famous person you did interview. But in terms of the stories you're hearing from the Helix, Have you got some highlights, some amazing things that you've heard about?
Oh my goodness.
Too many to mention.
So many.
We'll pick a couple.
Let's pick a couple. Shola Adowu. Okay.
Okay.
Hexa slabs.
Oh, I know Shola, yeah.
Oh my word. He's just one of the most incredible men. Originally from Nigeria, fell in love with a Geordie. It happens. And ended up moving back here after being at NASA, after working in cancer research, and the work he has recently been doing. I mean, he's been in AI for like 30 years.
Really?
He has a phenomenal brain and is so kind and welcoming and considerate. His story, goodness, I'm going to pick one of his businesses. Okay? So he developed. He has this incredible family, loves his family, right? And his kids are half Nigerian, with Nigerian kind of brittle hair, okay? And half his wife's. She is as pale as I am. And that meant that it has caused issues for one of their children who swims a lot.
Okay.
So basically, one of his daughters, she's like a superstar swimmer. She was in that chlorine every day, twice a day, and it was battering her. She was like, what's happening? And I'm going to have problems with my hair. So this man who's worked at NASA and has worked on cancer cures is then like, you know what, I'm going to help my daughter out here, and I'm going to develop a shampoo. I'm going to enter the beauty industry, and I'm going to develop a product which will help what is effectively 2/3 of the world's population in terms of hair type.
Who haven't been helped yet.
Yeah. So this is not only an amazing innovation, but this is social justice at its heart. You know, massive corporations making multi-billions, and they have left 2/3 of the world's population effectively, not prioritised them in sorting this out. And how does he create this? He goes into the Biosphere building, the lab hotel, as I like to call it. He bumps into somebody else he'd seen for a good while, hadn't seen for a good while, Professor Bernard Golding. Professor Bernard Golding, who also developed Rubraca, which was a cure for ovarian cancer, developed that right here. He's in his 80s, he won't mind me saying, cycles to work every day, bumps into him, he's like, I want to develop this thing. And Bernard's like, oh, I love molecules. I'll come and help you. So you've literally got two of the most unlikely candidates for entering the beauty industry. They develop a product and it is on the shelves, available around the world now, and winning beauty awards. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
Inspired by his daughter, the love of his daughter. That sense of community that he had in Lagos is exactly mirrored by the sense of community he has here in the Northeast. There's a story.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Should I talk about you?
Oh.
There's this guy, Terry McStay. And
If you must.
I'd like to talk about one thing you do.
I
want to talk about your Lego.
Okay.
Because we work together with Lego. Now, I play with Lego with my little ones, and I've loved it. I don't like standing on it at all. And
kneeling on it is even
worse, all of that. However, you showed me with one of the projects that I put on here.
So that's the building blocks.
So building blocks, okay. Do you want me to tell a bit building blocks?
Only to deflect a little bit from...
Oh, you're such a tinker.
So you can talk about building blocks, but if you must, you can talk about my part in that.
So building blocks was something that we came up with, and this was an opportunity to help younger people understand what was happening here on an innovation district and see the relevance to them. That basically in their neighbourhood, beyond those glass doors, don't be scared, don't be intimidated. There are normal people. What do they do? So it's got various streams, but the first stream was for year fives, age 9 to 10, to come in and on a real working day, so seeing people doing their real working lives in action, we give them some facilitated workshops. And there's lots more around that project, but the opportunity for a lot of these children, the people who we work with, it was alongside the Combined Authority. I'm on the Child Poverty Reduction Unit. I'm a member of that. And we worked with them from the very early days to identify which schools would most benefit from this opportunity. So we have very high levels of free school meals qualification, English as an additional language, special educational needs and disabilities, and those children come on site. 240 of them descend across 2 days, and all the nervousness about you can't do this, nobody does these things.
Yeah.
People love it.
Oh, yeah.
People love it. And I'm very happy to say that a number of the Helix occupiers help facilitate, or contacts that I've got from offsite come and help facilitate. You being one of them. And one of the favourites every year is the Lego session.
Lego Serious Play.
Lego Serious Play. I want you to talk about that because
I knew you were going to switch to interviewer mode.
I want you to, but it was amazing to see. I hadn't seen it in action with these children, and there were some particular stories that came out that
There were
stunned
actually,
me.
yeah. So I'll try and keep it brief. So Lego Serious Play is a methodology, I guess you would call it, that was invented by Lego themselves, but it's now used by organisations all over the world. I was lucky enough to go through the training program about 7-8 years ago, and so I run workshops for all sorts of organisations and in all sorts of contexts, just from absolute extremes. And I mean, you say you love seeing it in action. I get that. I have the absolute privilege of seeing it in action, and it's just a really good way to help people to think differently and think more creatively and share those stories. The kids that come don't need that much help because kids are very good at thinking creatively anyway. But we don't have a lot of time, but in the time that they do have, we get them to think about their superpower. And we had to ask adults to think about their superpower as well, but kids just go crazy when you ask. So they build a model of their superpower. But then we ask them to think about other things as well, about their kind of what they might want to be going forward. And yeah, we've had some amazing stories, and there was one girl she was talking about her brother, and she had this, it was like a blue, because they don't get a huge amount of Lego, it was like a blue, she'd made this blue rectangle, and there was her brother, the top half of a little Lego figure, and that was him in the swimming pool. But she put a little yellow square around him because he was prone to weeing in the pool. So that was a little yellow square. And there was another one that I loved, which I think it might have been a different session. We had, I don't know, 15, 20 kids in this session, and we gave them a little pack of Lego, and usually they rip it open and they're starting to make things. One young girl I went over and she'd arranged them all in order of colour and in order of size. And I said, you're going to be an engineer, aren't you? She said, yes, I do love engineering. She said, well, you need to know what resources you have available before you start on a project. And she was like 10. I thought, great. But it's great fun, but I think it's really important as well. And I think I'd love to think, and I'm pretty sure that some of those kids in 10, 15, 20 years' time will look back at coming to one of those building blocks activities and think, yeah, that was the start. That's what got me on this path, or that's what inspired me, or that's what made me more aware of what I could do and where I want to go. And it is really important, isn't it?
I think it's the whole, it sounds trite, but it's so true. Every school I go into, they'll say the same thing. You cannot be what you can't see. And I think there's an element of seeing people doing their day to day, you posing questions for them to do an activity so it gets them going. We do this thing called the school challenge that wraps around it as well.
Yeah.
And that is, there's a plot which hasn't been developed out yet in the centre of Helix. And so we ask them to design it. And it has to be a building of the future that the people can either live in or work in. And they can choose any material, any size, any colour, any shape. And the things that come out of that are mind-blowing. I mean, you've got like mermaid castles, the number of slides going down from roofs into a ball pool.
Of course.
Allowing them to just express themselves. But the thought that some of that might be, I can't promise a mermaid's castle, but some of those ideas might actually come to fruition in the real world. I mean, that would be tremendous. You know, people use the word co-creation all the time, but I think why not? That kind of elevates it, doesn't it?
And how many of those kids will go on to be architects or
Wouldn't that be
interior designers
amazing?
or engineers or whatever?
Yeah,
Because of experiences like that.
we need to capture the data.
Yeah.
I think there's a place here that might might be able to help with that.
So.
But yeah.
So there's 50% of the site is currently developed. Is that right? So there's still another 50%.
Yes.
That's to be developed. And what sort of areas are they in, or is it still?
So it's going to still be a mix. So a lot of the businesses and the organisations on the site are to do with sustainability, renewables, data, AI. We've got the National Edge AI Hub in the Urban Sciences Building. We've got 4 national innovation centres here, not in London, not even in Manchester, in Newcastle. National Innovation Centre for Ageing, for rural economy, for data, and also for the health, the Innovation Observatory.
Oh yeah.
That has the largest data set, health data set in the world.
Really?
That's in this building. I mean, that is tremendous resources. But alongside that, you've also got professional services and, you know, legal firms and some marketing people and blah, blah, blah. People doing Second Life batteries, you name it. There's all of that energy and excitement. But also, I'm glad to say within that, lots of creatives and foundational careers as well. I mean, that makes up the big bit of the North East's economy. And they're relevant everywhere. So I think there's a real importance of understanding that. We're lucky that we've got the combined authority on site as well. So I think they're plugged into, you know, being central and being able to see stuff. But hotel, houses, the residential bit,
what
which
a
will
place to
have
live.
sustainable. Can you imagine? That'd be great. And the bit that's fantastic about this, you've got all the students, thousands of students coming in and out every day. But I think holding a stronger community, that would be my hope for the site, a stronger community together where the kind of the soft infrastructure can sort of bridge the gap of the hard infrastructure. I think that's probably what I would like to see going forward.
So what's your vision for, say, 10 years from now? We come back here, what would you like to see kind of around the place?
Loads of the kids who've been through building blocks working here. That would be my absolute dream. We do the Year 5 programme, Building Blocks Insights, which is now expanded for a few days. We did the first ever work experience programme for the site last year. And that will hopefully be a model, there's been a lot of interest in this, a model that could be lifted and shifted and grown to loads of other multi-occupancy sites. You name it, you know, Newcastle Airport, whatever. We create this blueprint, so then that gap has to be filled. It's a gap that education, the schools are desperate for young people now to be more work ready. The businesses, all they say is, we need our future talent pipelines filled with people who are work ready. And work experience is the perfect filler for that. So it's a meeting of those two minds. So if we can do more of that, that would be fantastic. We've got a Teachers Encounters programme to educate, well, a bit of reverse mentoring on that, I think, where the businesses will say to the qualified teachers, this is what we're looking for in terms of the children coming through. But I think also a lot of businesses have to listen to the teachers about the qualities of the younger children coming through, what they've got to offer now, because it's a very different world that they're growing up in and a very different world that they're adapting to. So that would be great. And I think seeing more of that. And what else? Oh, and having a ball behind every front desk. So the front of house on this entire site, I always say the people who know what's going on anywhere, okay, are your front of house.
Oh yeah.
People cleaning the buildings.
Yeah.
Or people catering, right?
They're the most important people to get to know.
The most important people who make the thing tick, make it work, build communities, everything, okay? But if they were allowed to have a ball or a few balls behind their desk and we could put up a poster and just go, You want to play? Grab a ball. That would be, I would love that.
Well, they could have a box of Lego.
Or a box of Lego.
Yeah.
Might be able to do
That's
something
easily
about
done,
that.
I'm
Yeah.
Well, should we make a date then? 10 years from now,
Yeah.
we'll come back, we'll do another episode, and we can maybe have a walk
Yes!
around and see all the amazing things that have happened.
That would be fantastic.
Right. Well, let's do that.
And then I'll introduce you to the people who have come through and are changing lives for the future. Yeah.
And hopefully the caramel wafers will still be as good as they are.
They'll be even better.
They will be. Even better. Charlie, it's been fabulous.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh.